All right. Good morning, or good afternoon, depending on what part of the country you're joining us from. Coach Kevin here, and let's go ahead and get started. First thing I would like to go ahead and do is share my screen with you and share a couple things. Uh, First thing that I want to share with you, as soon as this pops up, all right, is that we have a Facebook group that coincides with this meetup. It has the same name. It's called I Want to Be Really Rich, and I Do Not Apologize for It. We invite you to come join us. When you go into your own Facebook profile, what you would do is find your search Facebook function, type in that name. I know it's long, I get it, but that's very exclusive too. Nobody else is going to have that name. So type in that name, I Want to Be Really Rich, and I Do Not Apologize for It, and find our group and come ask to join us, and we'll be happy to have you. The other way you could do this is you could go directly to facebook.com/groups/ I want to be really rich as one word. Now, why would you want to do that? The reason is if we have any special announcements or anything for the group in its entirety, then that will typically be pinned to the top. And then after that, what you will find is, as long as I remember to press the record button, which I typically do, you will find the videos of the Zoom meetings that we've had previous to today, all of them from November 5th up until now. And from time to time, like this right here, if there's a particular thing that we're going through together as a group, and I happen to have it, but it's not something you're just going to find for yourself on the internet, I will go ahead and put it in here so that you guys can get access to it and have your copy, or at least be able to see what it is we're talking about. Okay. Next thing I want to share with you is we are currently in the process of going through a book called The Power of Awareness. It was written by Neville Goddard, and it was written in the early 19th century. Okay. The Power of Awareness PDF by Neville Goddard. And I happen to have my own Kindle version. I have my own Audible version. I've read it, I don't know at this point, a dozen times or so, and find it to be very, very powerful in helping you understand who you are. And so we started going through this a few days ago. Before we started going through, though, I always like to see if I can find a free version for you guys so that you can easily just go grab it. So I typed in the Power of Awareness PDF, and one of the first searches that popped up is this right here. And you can go through several others, but I like this particular copy that came up of the book. So that I found, it says right here, The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard -Law of, and it's on a website called www.law-of-attraction-haven, HAVEN.com, and then it says a few other things. So that's the one that I clicked on and liked. And when I did, it brought me to here. Actually, it brought me to the first page, but we're on page 30 now, okay? But if you go do the same thing, it'll bring you right to the book. And what I went ahead and did with it is it didn't even ask for name or email. So I just took my download function and went ahead and got myself the copy of it. And now it's on my laptop. You can go do the same thing, put on your phone, your laptop, your tablet, whatever it is that you like to read from. And that way you can actually go back into the Facebook group to the videos and catch up with us. And or you can actually go grab the book and catch up with us, because I will tell you that Neville Goddard has been sharing some true gems with us. Now, prior to this, what we started out with, kind of give you a guide, we started out with a book back on November 5th called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, that was written in 1910. And it is essentially the formula for manifesting more money and wealth into your life. It shows you actually the steps to make that happen. Then we moved into a book called Hidden Treasures, written by Leslie Householder, a much newer book than The Science of Getting Rich. And Leslie did a great job of explaining the 7 laws. It's not just the law of attraction, which, by the way, law of attraction is just a subsidiary law, secondary law to the law of vibration. There are actually 7 laws that exist that govern us receiving all the wealth and money we want into our lives, as well as many other things that we want to manifest. So we went through that, so we have an understanding of how the laws work. So we have the formula for manifesting money. We understand now how the laws work, either for or against us, depending on if we're obedient to them or not. And then we hopped into, excuse me, an article by Bob Proctor, about 6 pages long, called Decision. Then we moved into a Reader's Digest version of the Law of Attraction called It Works. Then we moved into a book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. Why did we go this path? Well, you got to know how to manifest the money. You got to know how the universe and laws work. You got to know that if you're programming, if you're not receiving what you want, like you're trying your very best to live the laws, but for some reason you're still not receiving what you want, or you're having difficulty obeying those laws and finding a way to do it, then you know there's a program in your mind, or multiple programs, to be honest, in opposition to you receiving what you want. So you need to know how your mind works, how it got programmed to the way it is, more importantly, how to reprogram it so that it actually helps you receive what you want, because your subconscious mind can be your greatest friend or your greatest enemy, depending on what it is that you're trying to do. Okay. Again, if you want something and you're truly following the principles that would allow you to receive it, but you're still having difficulty, it means there's a subconscious block. There's a program in there where your subconscious mind is not in agreement with what it is that you want. So you have to reprogram your subconscious mind so it becomes in agreement. The best thing about that is once it becomes in agreement, your subconscious mind will help move heaven and earth to make sure you get what you want. And now we are in the power of awareness, which is letting us know more about who we are. What do I mean by that? I'm not talking about the skin and bones that we are, but talking about our, so to speak, parentage of royal lineage, which would be the all-powerful God, okay? That we're his children, and as such, we are actually function in a certain way, and we have different powers that we're unaware of, particularly the ability to choose and decide what we want and actually have it become so for us. So that's why we're in the power of awareness. All right, so what we're gonna do right now, oh, by the way, if you're typing into chat or anything like that, trying to get my attention, just so you know, I completely ignore chat, okay, for what we're doing right now. What we are going to do is we typically leave 10 to 15 minutes for you guys to go ahead and share what you want to share and ask whatever questions you want to ask. So if you have something that you would like to share or a question that you would like to ask, go ahead and save it for that time, and that'll be the appropriate time to do so. All right. What I'm going to do right now is we're going to jump into where we left off yesterday. I'll start reading. I'll add commentary where I feel that it's appropriate and possibly helpful to you guys. And we'll proceed that way until we come out of screen share and start doing our sharing and question and answer portion of our Zoom meetings. Let me get a sip of water here and we'll get rolling. Okie doke. Chapter 14, The Effortless Way. The principle of least action governs everything in physics, from the path of a planet to the path of a pulse of light. Least action is the minimum of energy multiplied by the minimum of time. Therefore, in moving from your present state to the state desired, you must use the minimum of energy and take the shortest possible time. Your journey from one state of consciousness to another is a psychological one. So, to make the journey, you must employ the psychological equivalent of least action. And the psychological equivalent is mere assumption. We already talked about assumption a few chapters ago. The day you fully realize the power of assumption, you discover that it works in complete conformity with this principle. It works by means of attention minus effort. Let me repeat that. It works by means of attention minus effort. Thus, with least action through an assumption, you hurry without haste and reach your goal without effort. Because creation is finished, what you desire already exists. It is excluded from view because you can see only the contents of your own consciousness. It is the function of an assumption to call back the excluded view and restore full vision. It is not the world, but your assumptions that change. An assumption brings the invisible into sight. It is nothing more nor less than seeing with the eye of God, i.e., imagination. For the Lord seeth not as a man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. The heart is the primary organ of sense, hence the first cause of experience. When you look on the heart, you are looking at your assumptions. Assumptions determine your experience. Watch your assumption with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Assumptions have the power of objective realization. Every event in the visible world is the result of an assumption or idea in the unseen world. The present moment is all important, for it is only in the present moment that our assumptions can be controlled. The future must become the present in your mind if you would wisely operate the law of assumption. Let me repeat this. The future must become the present in your mind if you would wisely operate the law of assumption. The future becomes the present when you imagine that you already are what you will be when your assumption is fulfilled. Be still, least action, and know that you are that which you desire to be. The end of longing should be being. Translate your dream into being. Perpetual construction of future states without the consciousness of already being them, that is, picturing your desire without actually assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, is the fallacy and mirage of mankind. It is simply futile daydreaming. Chapter 15, the crown of the mysteries. The assumption of the wish fulfilled is the ship that carries you over the unknown seas to the fulfillment of your dream. The assumption is everything. Realization is subconscious and effortless. Assume a virtue if you have it not. Act on the assumption that you already possess that which you sought. Blessed is she that believed, for there shall be performance of those things which were told her from the Lord. As in the Immaculate Conception is the foundation of the Christian mysteries, so the assumption of is their crown. Psychologically, the Immaculate Conception means the birth of an idea in your own consciousness, unaided by another. For instance, when you have a specific wish or hunger or longing, it is an immaculate conception in the sense that no physical person or thing plants it in your mind. It is self-conceived. Every man is the Mary of the Immaculate Conception and birth to his idea must give. The assumption is the crown of the mysteries because it is the highest use of consciousness. When in imagination you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are mentally lifted up to a higher level. When through your persistence, this assumption becomes actual fact, you automatically find yourself on a higher level. That is, you have achieved your desire in your objective, which is your outside world. Your assumption guides all your conscious and subconscious movements toward its suggested end, so inevitably that it actually dictates the events. Let me repeat that. Your assumption guides all your conscious and subconscious movements towards its suggested end, so inevitably that it actually dictates the events. The drama of life is a psychological one, and the whole of it is written and produced by your assumptions. Learn the art of assumption, for only in this way can you create your own happiness. Okay. Chapter 16, personal impotence. I actually really like this. It's like personal impotence. Self-surrender is essential. And by that is meant the confession of personal impotence. I can of my own self do nothing. For some of us, that might be a very hard pill to swallow, especially those of us that think we've accomplished so much based on our effort. I can of my own self do nothing. Think about that for a moment as we go through this. Might be causing a little bit of uproar inside going, what do you mean? Since creation is finished, it is impossible to force anything into being. The example of magnetism previously given is a good illustration. You cannot make magnetism, it can only be displayed. You cannot make the law of magnetism. If you want to build a magnet, you can do so only by conforming to the law of magnetism. In other words, you surrender yourself or yield to the law. In like manner, when you use the faculty of assumption, you are conforming to the law just as real as the law governing magnetism. You can neither create nor change the law of assumption. It is in this respect that you're impotent. You can only yield or conform. And since all of your experiences are the result of your assumptions, consciously or unconsciously, the value of consciously using the power of assumption surely must be obvious. Willingly identify yourself with that which you most desire, knowing that it will find expression through you. Yield to the feeling of the wish fulfilled and be consumed as its victim. Then rise as the prophet of the law of assumption. Chapter 17, all things are possible. It is of great significance that the truth of the principles outlined in this book have been proven time and again by the personal experiences of the author. Throughout the past 25 years, he has applied these principles and proven them successful in innumerable instances. He attributes to an unwavering assumption of his wish already being fulfilled every success that he has achieved. He was confident that these fixed assumptions, his desires, were predestined to be fulfilled. Time and again, he assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled and continued in his assumption until, so how long do we got to do this? Until that which is desired was completely realized. Live your life in a sublime spirit of confidence and determination. Disregard appearances, conditions, in fact, all evidence of your senses that deny the fulfillment of your desire. Rest in the assumption that you are already what you want to be. For in that determined assumption, you and your infinite being are merged in creative unity. And with your infinite being, God, all things are possible. God never fails. For who can stay his hand or say unto him, what dost thou? Through the mastery of your assumptions, you are in very truth enabled to master life. It is thus that the ladder of life is ascended. Thus the ideal is realized. The clue to the real purpose of life is to surrender yourself to your ideal with such awareness of its reality that you begin to live the life of the ideal and no longer your own life as it was prior to the surrender. He calleth things that are not seen as though they were, and the unseen becomes seen. Each assumption has its corresponding world. If you're truly observant, you will notice the power of your assumptions to change circumstances which appear wholly immutable. You, by your conscious assumptions, determine the nature of the world in which you live. Ignore the present state and assume the wish fulfilled. Claim it, it will respond. The law of assumption is the means by which the fulfillment of your desires may be realized. Every moment of your life, consciously or unconsciously, you are assuming a feeling. You can no more avoid assuming a feeling than you can avoid eating and drinking. All you can do is control the nature of your assumptions. Let me repeat. Every moment of your life, every moment of your life, consciously or unconsciously, you are assuming a feeling. You can no more avoid assuming a feeling than you can avoid eating and drinking. All you can do is control the nature of your assumptions. Thus, it is clearly seen that the control of your assumption is the key you now hold to an ever expanding, happier, and more noble life. Chapter 18, Be ye doers. Be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. For if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass, and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was. But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty, and continue therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed. Okay, this is speaking to us from a standpoint, an example. If you are a seminar, video, book, audio junkie, if you're a law of attraction junkie, go back and read this. I'm going to actually go back and read it for you for now. Be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, readers only, right? Attendees only, deceiving your own selves. Your subconscious will deceive you that way. Hey, I know this stuff. I know this stuff. For if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass, and goeth his way. So he sees what he can become, what he is actually. And straightway he forgetteth what manner of man he was. But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty, and continue therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, he actually takes what it is that he or she has learned. This person shall be blessed in their deed. The word in the quotation means idea, concept, or desire. You deceive yourself by hearing only. When you expect your desire to be fulfilled through mere wishful thinking, your desire is what you want to be, and looking at yourself in a glass is seeing yourself in imagination as that person, forgetting what manner of man you are is failing to persist in your assumption. Forgetting what manner of man or woman you are is failing to persist in your assumption. The perfect law of liberty is the law which makes possible liberation from limitation. That is the law of assumption. To continue in the perfect law of liberty is to persist in the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. You are not a forgetful hearer when you keep the feeling of your wish fulfilled constantly alive in your consciousness. This makes you a doer of the work, and you are blessed in your deed by the inevitable realization of your desire. You must be doers of the law of assumption, for without application, the most profound understanding will not produce any desired result. Let me repeat that. You must be doers of the law of assumption, for without application, the most profound understanding will not produce any desired result. Frequent reiteration and repetition of important basic truths runs through these pages. Where the law of assumption is concerned, the law that sets man free, this is a good thing. It should be made clear again and again, even at the risk of repetition. The real truth seeker will welcome this aid in concentrating his or her attention upon the law which sets him or her free. The parable of the master's condemnation of the servant who neglected to use the talent given him is clear and unmistakable. Having discovered within yourself the key to the treasure house, you should be like the good servant who, by wise use, multiplied by many times the talents entrusted to him. The talent entrusted to you is the power to consciously determine your assumption. The talent not used, like the limb not exercised, withers and finally atrophies. What you must strive after is being. In order to do it, it is necessary to be. The end of yearning is to be. Your concept of yourself can only be driven out of consciousness by another concept of yourself. Let me repeat that. Your concept, current concept of yourself, can only be driven out of consciousness by another chosen concept of yourself. By creating an ideal in your mind, you can identify yourself with it until you become one and the same with the ideal, thereby transforming yourself into it. The dynamic prevails over the static, the active over the passive. One who is a doer is magnetic and therefore infinitely more creative than any who merely hear. Be among the doers. Let's see here. Essentials. You know what? I am going to stop here for today and we will go into that tomorrow. This is a good place, I think. Hey, some more of you joined us since we got started. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad to have you all here with us. Let's see. Well, I'm not sure if there's anybody brand new with us today or not. But I do wish to welcome everybody here. And now is your opportunity to share or ask questions. So you can share in relationship. So share anything that's positively happened in your life that is in relationship to the law of attraction and manifesting things that you want in your life. Share maybe what it is that you've learned as a result of what we went through today or what we've gone through in the past and your ability actually to apply those things. And also, if you have any questions in relationship to anything we studied today, what we've studied in the past, and or in relationship to manifesting more money and wealth in your life, feel free to share that with us. All righty. And go ahead. It's now your time. Thank you.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey. Hi.
Karen.
Hi, Karen.
So I think this book must have been written a long time ago because some of the words are older and I find it kind of hard to absorb everything that you're reading, but a lot of these books are kind of repeating the same principles, but reinforcing them in my head, right?
Uh-huh.
So I consider the law of attraction actually my religion. That's what I follow. And
Cool.
I told you my greatest wish was desire was to sell this $1.7 million house.
Uh-huh.
And I did everything over the past 10 months, like, of course, I spent about $2,000 marketing the property. I would pray, I would fast. I gave it up to God, and to help me with this. It's the first thing I would say in the morning and the last thing I would say at night when I went to bed. I have it written on my mirror and it's on my computer, and I would meditate and use Reiki and visualize, and I would imagine where this check would go and the emotions and all kinds of stuff. And my sellers fired me yesterday because I couldn't get it sold. And I don't know what I did wrong. And I wondered, is it not meant to be, or?
No. It wasn't not meant to be, but no.
And I know you want us to share positive results.
Yeah, no, because I can help you too.
Yeah.
This is okay. This is totally okay. You have to be open though. You open?
I'm open, and I'm ready to hear what you have to give me as far as what I should have done.
So first of all, I'm going to tell you that what you said, I let it go and gave it to God, and then every single flipping day you asked him over and over and over again to do it for you.
I did. That's the positive affirmations and stuff, right?
Well, the feeling you didn't believe it.
Because I would say I'm so happy and grateful now that
I know they're words. You're at a subconscious level, you didn't believe it. The number one thing, the thing that we went through, so we've gone through Science of Getting, I don't know how long you've been with us, but we went through the Science of Getting Rich first, okay? Mm-hmm. Then we went through the laws, hidden treasures, went through a couple other things, then we jumped in the power of your subconscious mind. Let me share something with all of you guys here right now. Okay. Um, I share a lot of in relationship to the laws and how the law of attraction works on purpose for an awareness for everybody. But let's just take the human being out there that is doing very well financially. And they could be doing well in other areas of their life or maybe not as well. It doesn't matter. I'm just taking money as an example. There are people out there that are totally clueless about the law of attraction in the essence of even, the words, the books, all the stuff we're talking about right here. They're clueless, okay? And yet they operate on a creative, not a competitive plane. So they are obeying the law, who have all kinds of money and wealth come to them, and it's no issue whatsoever. Well, hold on. They don't understand the law of attraction. They don't know how the laws work. That's how Bob Proctor was early on, why he chose to find out how it worked so he could teach others, because he had a change because he followed what a mentor told him to do exactly. And his income went from $4,000 a year to within about a year and 18 months, it went to $15,000 a month. And then over the next 2 years, it went up to over $1 million a year. And he didn't know how it happened, but he was obedient. What happened though, when we say obedient, is he reprogrammed his subconscious mind for that conception of himself. What we're talking about right now, especially here in the power of awareness, and what we were even talking about in the power of your subconscious mind, you have to program your subconscious mind to accept you as different than you are right now. That's the only way to make the change. So we can go try and we can visualize and do these things and still get stuck because our concept of ourself hasn't changed. We have some issue with a feeling that we are not enough in some way, shape, or form. And as long as that's what our subconscious program is, it is going to sabotage us. So it's not meant to be necessarily. God would tell, if it wasn't meant to be, God would have told you, let this one go. Or what happened is potentially, Karen, this could be if you are in the right vibration. It's like when I wanted to move, my family wanted to move into a particular house and we found it. We thought this is awesome. It's what we want. And I said to God, this or something better. And then the person, it kind of fell apart at the last moment. My family was a little bit upset with me because I had said this or something better and they thought there wasn't something better, which of course there always is. And within a few days later, something better actually showed up. Not only was it a better deal, but it was actually a better place. It was more of what we wanted. And what we had to pay for it in relationship to what it was worth was amazing. So, and then when all was said and done, they're like, shoot, I wouldn't trade. If I could go back and look now, I don't want the other one. I want the one we're in. So you could have something better around the corner, and it could have been your vibration in relationship to your client. Maybe that you were out of vibration with them. Maybe you're in the right frame of mind, but they were skeptical about the whole thing. So don't worry too much about it. But something did happen, but saying what you did, let God deal with it. Your conception of yourself, though, and I don't know how many homes you sell and how much money you make and all that other kind of stuff.
Right.
But your conception of yourself to sell homes like that, $7 million homes or whatever, is you have to see yourself as doing it like you are that person constantly, and your subconscious mind has to accept it. If your subconscious mind is like, oh, Karen doesn't sell $7 million homes, she sells $2 million homes or under. And again, because you and I'm not a personal coach to you, so I don't know your whole life like I do other people I help. So I'm giving you the best advice I can without knowing you personally as well as I would if we were, working together, so to speak. But I know for sure, based upon what just happened, that things would have went more smoothly. You either wouldn't have had them as a client in the first place, or your relationship with the client would be better and they would have been more cooperative, or possibly your somewhat fear that it wouldn't happen. There's a lot of things that had an effect, but that's actually okay. What everybody here should go do is what we're talking about right now. What is your image and conception of yourself? What is your assumption? What do you want to be? And assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Assume what you want to be, do, and have, and then the other things that will make that happen will line up. That goes back to me when I didn't set a money goal years ago, when I wanted to leave my job. I, in my mind, had a lifestyle I wanted to live. That lifestyle included having a lot of time and doing what I wanted to do. And my income jumped from $5,000-$6,000 a month. In literally a few months, it jumped up to an average of $50,000 a month once I got reprogrammed into this. But I didn't really have to set a specific goal. I had to convince and program my subconscious mind to accept the life the way I wanted to live it. And then the subconscious mind now was in cooperation with God and the universe. And once they all got lined up in cooperation, inevitably I could have sat there and picked my nose and I still would have got what I wanted. I'm not saying now I would have been and I was inspired to take certain actions, right? But I'm saying if all that was required was to pick my nose, then that's all I would have had to do. Okay. We do so much and we really truly don't. That's what we're going to get even deeper in as we go through this. But I will tell you that we've all got to decide, and we get to choose. We all got to decide what we want to be, do, and have, and make that.
That's the mental activity. I'm sorry, Kevin.
Yeah.
I thought you were finished. I was just taking that's the mental activity. You have to, it's your imagination. You have to take step. What I'm thinking that you're saying is you have to take this process of an imagination. You're imagining this step, and then you're imagining this step, and then you're imagining this step. And these imaginations, your imagination is broadened to change your subconscious. Is this the steps or the?
Well, it's not even, yeah, it's your subconscious starts going, okay. And you're right about the imagination. And here's the thing. Every time something comes, okay, so we walk into a room and we see somebody for the very first time. We've never seen them ever, but we walk into a room and there they are. Guess what is the first thing that we do? We assume and we imagine. See, that's what it said. We're always imagining and we're always assuming. So whatever it is that we're imagining and assuming ultimately is going to express itself, especially if it is repeated over and over and over again. It's going to. So if we imagine things falling apart on us, they're going to fall apart. If we, especially, I'm not saying we imagine it one little time for a moment and it's going to wreck our life. But the repetition of worries and concerns and fears and everything is not useful to us. We could call it subconscious programming. We could also look at it as that's my imagination, because that's all it is before it actually happens. And that's my assumption. And that's what my subconscious now has accepted. So I got to use my imagination to change my assumptions and use that assumption to impress on my subconscious mind what it is I really want to be, do, or have. And once the subconscious mind is convinced that that is who I really am, or that is what I really am, that's who I am, be, that's what I do, this is what I have, my subconscious will get out of the way. It'll connect with source. And the law of attraction is already working. It never stops working. None of the laws actually come to a halt. We don't hit a button and go, I'm going to turn that law. We don't turn the law on and off. It's going. What we have to do is see ourselves a certain way. And whatever we see ourselves as and feel ourselves as being, doing, or having in the right way without fear, worry, and doubt. Not to say you don't go through some of that along the process, right? But you stay with it like it talked about. Be, not a hearer only, but a doer. That's the doer part. Stay with it until your subconscious mind accepts it. And once your subconscious mind accepts it, boom, instead of your enemy, it's your friend. It's not meant to be an enemy or a friend. It's just actually there to put our life on autopilot so we can move on and do something else. It's there so we can learn to tie our shoes and not think about every time we tie our shoe the rest of our life how to tie our shoe. It's there so we can do multiplication tables, learn them when we're in elementary school, and not have to relearn them when we're 50 years old. So the subconscious mind wants to be it's designed to accept programming. The problem is it's got programs in opposition to what we want. But the program that got in there is our conception and our imagination of what the world is for us. Some people believe the world is wonderful and therefore their world tends to turn out pretty awesome. Other people expect things, they assume things, and those things that they're expecting, assuming, and imagining aren't in alignment with happiness. They're not in alignment with prosperity, or they're not in alignment with relationships or health or whatever it is that people tend to struggle with. It's because we use our imagination and we use our assumptions against ourselves, and we reinforce to our subconscious mind those programs. So the subconscious just gives us more of what we've got already. Or we make it worse because we just go into the loop and we go deeper and deeper and deeper. That's why some people have to hit rock bottom before they can go back up. Once they're finally like, I don't know if it could get any worse than this. If you think that, it could. But if you're like, okay, I think I've hit the bottom, what happens is my brain says I can only go up now. There's nowhere lower to go. I can only go up. I can only go up. I only go up, only go up, only go up. Subconscious goes, okay, yeah, I guess you're right. That's about as far as we're going down. Let's go back up. So I know that I'm shared more than what you just asked, Karen, but I just want to make it clear to everybody that when you get reprogrammed, and that's my specialty that I help people with, once you're reprogrammed, then things become so much easier for you. But as long as you're fighting that program, you can understand law of attraction and you can do the things that it says to do. But if your subconscious mind's in opposition to what it is that you want, it's not going to happen. The vibration being put out is in opposition to what you want, because it's through your subconscious mind that the vibration goes out.
I love this. I'm sorry. I'm getting it. I know it. It is for me. I think it's great. I'm imagining things. I'm imagining who I am going to be for working for New York Live. I'm imagining it.
Awesome.
And I get it. It is. It is. It is. It is. It's great. It's going to be fun. And I'm having fun for the first time in my life.
Then if that's how you're feeling, then you're doing it right, at least right now.
I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy to. Whoops. I'm
right.
happy today. I don't want to.
That's all right. That's
talk
all right.
too much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else have anything that they would like to share? Any questions they would like to ask?
Kevin, just to summarize, I actually feel relief now that I don't have to worry about this anymore.
Well, there you go. Awesome. Awesome. That's a good feeling.
For the last 10 months. And so, but neither one of us achieved our goals, neither the seller or myself, but so I need to reprogram.
Kevin, I have a question.
Hold on. Wait for Karen to finish. Okay. Let Karen finish.
Yeah. So my goal, I guess, or my homework is to reprogram my subconscious to tell myself who I want to be, do, and have. And do that through meditation maybe and visualizing or
lots of it. How do you know what, maybe we're getting a little too difficult with it too. You already imagine all the time. Right? We do. Right? So maybe instead of using the word this might help some of you guys. Okay? Maybe instead of using the word meditate and visualize, how about use the word imagine? Now we think kitty in that way a lot of times, but I have a good friend. This guy is a real estate investor. He has been now for, 40 years. This guy in single family residence in multiple states, this guy has wholesaled over 1,000 homes in a single year. Okay, more than once. I'm telling you, anybody out there that's a realtor that understands real estate, anybody that can move over 1,000 units, single family residences in a year is doing something pretty good, right? And by the way, he didn't give them away for $1. Okay, so that's not the case. He made lots and lots and lots of money. He took down $1 billion REO fund for actually just for 100 million. So he got it at 10 cents on the dollar. And then he wholesaled over 1,000 of them in 1 year. Interestingly enough, one of the things, and it didn't click for me until recently, that he talked about when people ask him, you know, what his success is due to, he'll say a lot of the things other people will say. But one of the things that it didn't click until now, and I don't know that he knows how to explain law of attraction, so that's why it's hard for him to explain how he's become good. He can just tell you the process. I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. But really, one of the things that every time I hear him talk about, he only briefly says it, but very few people ever catch on to what he's saying, is it's his imagination. He's able to imagine things. So anytime he comes up against something, his imagination helps him work it out. Pretty amazing stuff. And I know the guy makes, I don't know his income, but let's just say it's 10+ million a year at least. And he has fun with what he does. He's one of the very best in the entire country at what he does. And he earns quite a bit of money. And people look at him in awe.
I have a silly question.
Okay.
I'm also Karen, but anyhow, the other on Saturday I was in the car with my husband and I said, you know, I'm getting tired of these black cars. I usually go back and forth, black, white, okay. But for some reason this time I got another, it's not really black, but it's got a blue tinge to it. It's like charcoal, but people think of it as black, all right? So I said, I'm getting tired of this. I need to do white next time. Like I felt like I needed to do it that instant actually, okay? But we were just talking. So then a few days later I went out to dinner with actually 2 girls that I went to elementary school with. But anyhow, I walk in and we do it every month, right? And they go, did you get a new car? And I said, why? She said, because I thought you had a white car. And I went, oh, that's really fun. Now, is that just coincidence or am I sending out brain waves already?
Yeah, you're sending out vibration.
I just thought that was really ironic.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay. I thought that was so cool.
Hey, Stephanie, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you holding back or something? You told me something really cool yesterday via text. Hello?
Can you hear me okay?
I can, yeah.
I just wanted to share with the group that I was telling Kevin yesterday, a friend of mine that I talk to about the stock market on a regular basis. I don't really play in the stock market, don't feel confident enough at this point, but I'm working on that. But 8 years ago, I bought a stock, and from the minute I bought it, it did nothing but go down. And I wouldn't sell, and I was being stubborn about it. And so for 8 years, I've watched it decline to the point of almost nothing. And I don't know if I should have gotten out or whatever, but recently I was thinking about it as one of my multiple sources of income as far as the stock market is concerned, working with Kevin and everything. And out of the blue, it tripled in the last 2 days. So I gained back everything I'd lost, plus additional gain on top of that. And now I've got a sell order in just to sell it and get rid of it. But it was like watching it go down for 8 years. Now all of a sudden, out of the blue, for no unexplicable reason, it has tripled in price.
Well, there is one, right? What did you tell me about what was going on? Not everybody's watching the stock market. What's happening to the stock market?
Yeah, so I did figure out this morning, I'm pretty sure it's caught up in the Reddit movement, if anyone is aware of what that is. Everyday citizens trying to kind of manipulate the market and choosing stocks that have been shorted unfairly for years, such as the one that I'm in. So I'm thinking it's part of that and it's mimicking that trend.
Right, but what did you say about the rest of the stock market versus your one stock that was going down for 8 years?
Right, so I have it in this watch list for tech stocks that I look at, and it was hysterical because the entire list was red and mine was the only one that on there that was green was mine. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, this is the law of attraction stuff that you got to talk about, because you started the group coaching, and you and I talk typically at least once a week, right? and you're doing different exercises and things, and your brain is accepting way more. You've had way more ideas come to you. You've got multiple things that are potentially income sources for you. And because you're in the right vibration now, you've got a stock that was doing nothing but diving for 8 years that all of a sudden beat the entire market by multiplying 3 times in 2 days.
Right. Right.
And you're saying, I'm not
Yeah,
sure
it's
how that
awesome.
happened. I know exactly how that happened, but that's how you guys are going to feel. And there's a book out there, one called It Works, that says what's going to happen to you is you're going to try and discredit the good that happens to you as just happen chance or circumstance or whatever. And that's kind of a foolish way to look at it. You should look at it as, hey, not meaning I physically went out and did anything, but I got into a vibration that allowed God in the universe to do that for me. Therefore, I do have an impact on these kinds of things. It wasn't happen chance. It is more money is coming into my life. And I gave you an affirmation to use and listen to, just like everybody else, while you're going to sleep. And you haven't done it perfectly, but you've done it somewhat. And your brain, you couldn't have it help but actually have more money come into your life. And it came to you unexpectedly.
Completely agree.
Thank you.
And I'm all like skipping around happy every day. It's awesome.
Thanks for sharing, Stephanie. Anybody else have any questions or comments that they would like to share today?
Hi, Kevin. It's Tanya again.
Hi.
And I try to be quiet and I listen and I observe and I learn. And that's how we can do this the best, right? Because it's still our imagination and our assumption. And I know what I'm destined for. I'm going to say it like that. I know what I'm destined for.
Awesome.
And I understand, getting to understand some of the programming that's kept me from getting there. So I made a decision this year that I was not going to be taken advantage of in a financial way as I have in the past by some business transactions. However, because I've made a decision on that, I've been trying.
I don't know if you're still talking or
Those very business colleagues. It's probably because of my bandwidth. I'm sorry.
okay, that's all right.
So I've been imagining getting repaid by the business transactions that took advantage of me in the past.
Okay.
So because I've made a decision that I want to get repaid and made a decision that I'm not going to get advantage of anymore.
Okay.
And I know what I'm destined for. So at some point, do you then say you give it to God to be repaid? I imagine getting repaid. I imagine what that feels like and looks like. At one point, do you say, okay, now that I've done this, I can let it be?
Okay. So
You see, it's kind of on par to today.
Yeah. Okay. So here's how I would go about doing that. Hey, dear God, I'm going to say the guy's name is Mike. I don't know if there's any Mikes on here or not. This isn't meant to point out anybody. I'll say Landon. He can take it. So one of the people that screwed you, his name's Landon, okay, in a business transaction. Here's what I would actually do about it personally, because it shows 100% faith and trust in God and the universe to supply your good and not another human being. You know, dear God, however you pray, you know, hey, dear Heavenly Father, I want to thank thee for helping me to understand how the laws of the universe work. I don't understand them completely, but I'm learning more and more every day. And I have a favor to ask of thee. I've made some mistakes in the past and attracted things into my life that were not in alignment with what I really wanted, but they were in alignment with my programming. Now my programming has changed, and I know that you're powerful enough to restore and repair everything in my life that has gone wrong. I ask in your own way, according to your will of what's for my highest and best good, to please restore to me that which has been taken, and not only to restore it, but to multiply it many times over. Whether it comes from the person who harmed me or whether it comes from another channel or source, I'm more than happy to receive it. And I release Landon and forgive Landon and let it, all my harsh feelings about Landon go, and trust that if Landon's going to repay it, that's terrific. However, I'm going to trust thee, God, to actually repair things and make things whole. And I appreciate all that thou art doing for me and all that thou art doing for me in the future. And I know that it's my opportunity to forgive and forget, and know that thou art able to multiply many times over anything that's ever been lost to me.
That is so beautiful, Kevin.
That is
Thank you. The
so
tears
beautiful.
of joy are running down my face right now. I mean, I get so
really.
emotional. The tears of joy are just running down my face. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, don't try and get blood from a turnip. Okay, if he or she or whoever they are that harmed you are going to return it to you, terrific. But if you're waiting for that before you let go of this thing, you're better off trusting that God can replace it. You are, because if you're focusing on them doing it, then it may or may not happen, and that's going to affect your vibration. But if you actually go into a mode of forgiveness instead and just say, hey, you know what, things happen, and admit to yourself, like I just said in it, I made mistakes. I attracted this into my life, but now I'm learning and growing, and I've still got lots to learn and lots to grow. However, you can fix everything that I broke. So please help me in doing that. You know, you step in and fix what I broke. That's what forgiveness is about. You go forgive other people, and basically, if you look in the scriptures, it's with what judgment you judge others is what you'll be judged. So if you keep looking at for, you know, your pound of flesh from the person that hurt you, you're going to get a pound of flesh off of yourself as a result. So we have to cut that out. It's not natural for us to want to do that, but it is the very best way for us to live our life, is to forgive, you know, and let it go, and trust that God supplies our good, not another human being on planet Earth.
Thank you, Kevin. And I forgive you, Landon. Thank you.
Funny.
It forgives me for using him as an example. All right. Anybody else? Questions or comments today before we go? All right. All right. Well, thank you for taking your valuable time and spending it with us today. And I look forward to seeing everybody again tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a beautiful prayer.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're
See you
welcome.
guys.
See ya.